Jake Morrison had been flying cargo ships between Earth and the outer colonies for 12 years. He knew the sound of space like other people knew their morning coffee. The constant chatter on the communication channels, the weather reports from Mars, the shipping schedules from Europa Station, and always, the endless stream of music, news, and voices from Earth itself. But today, as his ship Aurora's Dream drifted toward Europa Station with a cargo hold full of medical supplies, Jake heard something that made his blood run cold. Nothing. Lisa Park, his communications officer, looked up from her console with confused eyes. She had been trying to raise Earth control for the past 2 hours. Her equipment showed green lights across the board. Everything was working perfectly. But Earth simply was not responding. "Run the diagnostics again," Jake told her, though he knew she had already done it 3 times. Lisa's fingers moved across her keyboard. The results came back the same as before. All systems normal, all channels clear, but from the direction of Earth, the most talkative planet in the galaxy, came only silence. Jake felt a knot forming in his stomach. In all his years of flying, Earth had never been quiet. Not during wars, not during natural disasters, not even during the great solar storm of 2387 that knocked out half the communication satellites. Earth always talked. Across the galaxy, other people were beginning to notice the same thing. On the mining station Omega-7, communications specialist Tony Rodriguez had been trying to send his weekly report to Earth headquarters. The message kept bouncing back with an error he had never seen before. Not a technical failure, not a busy signal, but simply no response at all. On the luxury cruise ship Star Princess, Captain Betty Walsh was dealing with 300 very unhappy passengers who could not call their families on Earth. The ship's communication array was working fine. They could reach every other planet, every space station, every ship in their local sector, but Earth might as well have vanished from the galaxy. The first official notice came from the Zephyrian Trade Council. The Zephyrians were a careful species who monitored all communication traffic for their complex trade calculations. Their report was short and alarming. Earth had stopped transmitting on all frequencies at exactly 1427 Galactic Standard Time, 3 days ago. The news reached the Galactic Council Station within hours. Ambassador Kethvar of the Vorthon Empire read the report twice before calling an emergency session. In 47 years of human contact, this had never happened. Humans were loud. They talked constantly, argued endlessly, and broadcast everything from their music to their cooking shows across half the galaxy. For humans to be completely silent meant something terrible had happened. The council chamber filled, quickly. Representatives from 23 species took their seats while holographic displays showed the same information from every monitoring station in the galaxy. Earth's communication silence was complete and absolute. Could it be a technical failure? Asked the Meridian delegate, her crystalline voice tinkling with hope. Admiral Rex Porter of the Human Colonial Defense Force shook his head grimly. He was one of only 3 humans present, and his weathered face showed deep concern. Earth has 17 independent communication networks, plus backup systems, plus military channels. For everything to fail at once would be impossible. Then what are we looking at? Demanded the Korthak representative, his tentacles writhing with barely contained aggression. Admiral Porter met the alien's gaze steadily. Either Earth has suffered a catastrophe beyond our worst nightmares, or something has happened that we do not understand. The room fell quiet. Every species in the galaxy knew that humans were unpredictable, dangerous when cornered, and capable of surprising everyone, including themselves. If something had happened to Earth, the implications went far beyond one silent planet. Dr. Kate Williams, a xenobiologist who had spent years studying human behavior patterns, stood up slowly. She was a small woman with sharp eyes who had written the definitive guide to human psychology for non-human species. "I request permission to lead an investigation fleet to the Sol system," she said quietly. The council erupted in voices, clicks, growls, and harmonic tones. Some demanded immediate military action. Others wanted to quarantine the entire Sol system. A few suggested that humanity's silence might be a blessing in disguise. Ambassador Kethvar raised his hand for order. His people had fought 3 wars against humans and learned to respect their capabilities the hard way. Dr. Williams, what do you think we will find? Kate Williams looked around the chamber at faces, eye stalks, sensory organs, and communication appendages from across the galaxy. I think we will find something that changes everything. Humans do not simply disappear. When humans go quiet, it usually means they are planning something. The vote was close, but the investigation was approved. Within 6 hours, the ISV Horizon was being prepared for immediate departure. Commander Alex Stone, a veteran of the Centauri border conflicts, would lead the mission. Dr. Williams would head the science team. As Jake Morrison finally docked at Europa Station, he found the normally busy facility in chaos. Station manager, Carl Davis, met him at the airlock with news that confirmed Jake's worst fears. It's not just Earth, Carl said grimly. Luna Base has gone quiet too. Mars is still talking, but they say Earth stopped responding 3 days ago. Something big has happened, Jake. Something that has every government in human space scared. Jake helped unload his medical supplies while trying to process the information. Earth and Luna together held nearly 4 billion people. They did not just stop talking. They could not just stop talking. But as Jake looked out at the stars toward the direction of Earth, he saw only the normal patterns of distant suns. No unusual energy signatures. No signs of explosions or massive destruction. Earth was still. There, still in its proper orbit around Sol. It was just silent. The ISV Horizon launched from Council Station with a mixed crew of humans and aliens, all of them trying to solve a puzzle that grew stranger by the hour. As they entered hyperspace for the 3-day journey to Sol, Dr. Williams reviewed everything they knew about Earth's last transmissions. Normal weather reports, routine shipping schedules, a cooking show about Italian pasta, a news broadcast about upcoming elections, a children's program featuring talking animals. Everything completely ordinary until 1427 GST, when every signal simply stopped. Commander Stone stood on the bridge watching the swirling colors of hyperspace and wondering what they would find when they arrived. In his 20 years of military service, he had seen alien invasions, civil wars, and natural disasters that devastated entire worlds, but he had never seen 4 billion humans just disappear without a trace. The silence was spreading too. Other species were beginning to notice that human colonies throughout the galaxy had stopped their usual chatter. Ships were still moving, stations were still operating, but the constant stream of human communication that had become background noise for half the galaxy was fading day by day. Something had changed. Something fundamental had shifted in the balance of power that kept the galaxy running. And at the center of it all was Earth, silent as a tomb, waiting for someone to discover what had become of humanity. The ISV Horizon dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system exactly 3 days after leaving Council Station. Commander Alex Stone stood on the bridge watching the sensor displays with growing confusion. Everything looked normal, too normal. The asteroid mining stations were operating on schedule. Mars colonies were broadcasting their regular status updates. The giant solar collection arrays between Mercury and Venus were functioning perfectly. Ship traffic moved along established routes like nothing had happened. But Dr. Kate Williams noticed what was missing first. Alex, look at the communication logs. Mars is talking to the belt stations. The belt stations are talking to each other. But nobody is talking to Earth. Stone studied the displays more carefully. She was right. It was like watching a family dinner where everyone was politely ignoring one person at the table. All the usual traffic patterns existed, except for the routes that led to Earth itself. Take us to Luna first, Stone ordered. Luna Base was the gateway to Earth, the massive space station that handled most of the orbital traffic for humanity's homeworld. If they were going to find answers, Luna was the logical place to start. What they found when they docked made every crew member's skin crawl. Luna Base was perfect. Every light was on. Every system was running smoothly. The docking bay opened automatically when they requested permission to board, but when the airlock cycled and they stepped aboard, they found themselves in a ghost town. Personal belongings sat exactly where their owners had left them. Coffee cups were still warm in the break rooms. Computer screens showed work in progress. In the main control center, Station Manager Paul Turner's jacket hung on the back of his chair, and his morning schedule was still displayed on his personal screen. The last entry was at 14:27 GST 3 days ago. It said simply, "Meeting with engineering team about new quantum resonance project." Dr. Williams ran her scanner over everything they found. No signs of struggle, no weapon residue, no indication that anyone had been forced to leave quickly. The people of Luna Base had simply vanished in the middle of their normal daily routine. "This is impossible," muttered Security Chief Danny Cooper as he examined the pristine condition of the security office. 4,000 people don't just disappear. There should be signs, evidence, something. The investigation team spent 6 hours going through every section of Luna Base. They found the same thing everywhere. Normal life interrupted at exactly 14:27 GST. No bodies, no damage, no clues about where anyone had gone, but they did find something that made Commander Stone very nervous. In a secured section of the base, they discovered laboratories filled with equipment that should not have existed. Quantum field generators decades ahead of anything in the public records. Computer systems running calculations that none of them could understand. Dr. Williams studied the research files with growing amazement and concern. "Alex, they were working on something called Project Mirror. From what I can tell, it involved quantum entanglement on a massive scale. But this technology is far beyond anything humans have publicly demonstrated." The next stop was Earth itself. As the horizon approached humanity's homeworld, they got their first indication that Earth's silence did not mean Earth was defenseless. The Korthak Empire had apparently reached the same conclusion as the Galactic Council. If humans had vanished, their worlds were free for the taking. A small Korthak fleet had arrived in the Sol system just hours before the horizon, with plans to claim Earth for their expanding empire. They never made it to the surface. Earth's planetary defense grid came alive the moment the Korthak ships entered the inner system. But these were not the defensive systems anyone remembered. The weapons that fired from Earth's orbital platforms used technology that defied known physics. Energy. Beams curved through space in impossible directions. The lead Korthak destroyer simply vanished, torn apart at the molecular level by weapons that existed in multiple dimensions at once. The remaining Korthak ships fled in panic, but not before their sensors recorded weapon signatures that would keep their scientists busy for years trying to understand what they had witnessed. Commander Stone watched the retreating Korthak fleet on his displays and felt a chill run down his spine. Those weapons should not exist. According to our physics, they cannot exist. Dr. Williams was already analyzing the scanner data from the engagement. The energy patterns matched the theoretical work in those Luna-based laboratories. Whatever Project Mirror was, I think it succeeded beyond anyone's expectations. The horizon requested permission to approach Earth. The response came immediately in perfect standard galactic speech. Investigation Vessel Horizon, you are cleared for standard orbital approach. Maintain minimum safe distance from all installations. Any aggressive action will result in immediate defensive response. The voice was artificial, clearly generated by computer systems. But something about it seemed familiar to Dr. Williams. She could not shake the feeling that she had heard that exact tone of voice before, from human commanders she had worked with over the years. They took a shuttle down to Earth's surface, choosing New York as their landing site. The city that never sleeps was sleeping now. Streets that should have been jammed with millions of people were empty except for automated traffic systems still cycling through their programs. The investigation team walked through Times Square in complete silence. Electronic billboards still displayed advertisements for products no one was there to buy. Street cleaning robots went about their duties, keeping the sidewalks spotless for pedestrians who did not exist. In the United Nations building, they found the same pattern as Luna Base. Offices abandoned mid-task, but showing no signs of panic or forced evacuation. Dr. Williams found meeting notes from the morning of the disappearance, discussing something called final phase implementation of a project with no clear description. But the most disturbing discovery came in the basement levels of government buildings throughout the city. Sealed chambers filled with technology that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Quantum computers that appeared to be running continuously, even though no one was there to operate them. "It's like they built all this equipment, Doctor," Williams said as she examined a device that her scanner could not properly identify, and then it started running itself. Security Chief Cooper made the connection first. What if they did not disappear? What if they became something else? The question hung in the air as the investigation team returned to orbit. Earth was clearly still inhabited, but not by anything they recognized as human. The planet's defenses were operating with intelligence and purpose. The technology was functioning at levels beyond anything in the public record. Most disturbing of all, everything was too perfect. Earth's cities were running exactly as they should be. Power grids were balanced. Water systems were clean. Agricultural systems were producing food that no one was harvesting. It was as if someone or something was maintaining human civilization without humans. Commander Stone assembled his senior staff in the Horizon's briefing room to review their findings. The data they had collected painted a picture that challenged everything they thought they knew about human capabilities. "We have 3 possibilities," he told the group. 1. Humans have been evacuated to locations unknown, leaving behind automated systems to maintain their civilization. 2. Humans have been eliminated by some force that wants to preserve their technology. 3. Humans have become something that no longer requires physical bodies but still maintains their technological infrastructure. Dr. Williams looked at the quantum signatures they had recorded. "Based on the research we found, I think option 3 is the most likely, but that would mean humanity has achieved something that every species in the galaxy considered impossible." The implications were staggering. If humans had found a way to exist as pure consciousness while maintaining control over their physical technology, they had become something unprecedented in galactic history. They would be everywhere and nowhere, limited by neither distance nor physical form. As the Horizon prepared to return to Council Station with their report, long-range sensors detected something that confirmed their worst fears. Human colonies throughout the galaxy were beginning to show the same patterns as Earth. Normal operations continuing with perfect efficiency, but no human voices on the communication channels. Whatever had happened to Earth was spreading, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity's silence had not been the end of human civilization. It had been the beginning of something entirely new. Colonel Ryan Brooks was having the worst morning of his military career when his world changed forever. The new Texarkana colony had woken up to find a hegemony of Shar battle fleet in orbit, demanding immediate surrender. Ryan stood in the colony's command center, looking at tactical displays that showed hopeless odds. 3 Shar destroyers and a battlecruiser against his small defense force of converted cargo ships and mining vessels. The colony had 12,000 civilians, and no way to evacuate them before the Shar opened fire. "Sir," called Communications Officer Linda Hayes from her station, "the Shar commander is demanding a response to his surrender ultimatum." Ryan stared at the displays showing enemy ships positioning themselves for orbital bombardment. He had fought the Shar before during the border conflicts. They did not make empty threats. If New Texarkana did not surrender, they would burn the colony to ash and take whatever resources they wanted from the ruins. "Tell them we need time to consider their terms," Ryan said, knowing it would only buy him a few hours at most. But as Linda began composing the response, every screen in the command center suddenly blazed with information that should not have existed. Detailed technical specifications for the Shar vessels appeared on tactical displays. Shield frequencies, weapon ranges, crew rotations, and engine signatures filled their screens with impossible accuracy. Ryan stared at data that would take months of intelligence gathering to collect, now appearing on his systems without explanation. But he was a soldier, and soldiers learn to adapt quickly to unexpected advantages. "All defense units," he broadcast on the military channel, "prepare for engagement using parameters now downloading to your systems." The battle that followed lasted exactly 17 minutes. New Texarkana's makeshift defense force used the mysterious tactical information to target critical systems on the Shar vessels with surgical precision. What should have been a massacre became a perfect victory for the human colony. As the last Shar ship exploded, Ryan noticed something that made his hands shake. The tactical information was updating in real time, showing him the exact moment each enemy vessel would be destroyed. Someone or something was not just providing intelligence. They were coordinating the entire battle with inhuman precision. Similar scenes played out across human space over the following days. On mining platform Charlie 9, Administrator Jenny Walsh watched her industrial equipment spontaneously reconfigure itself into defensive weapons when a pirate fleet approached. The conversion happened automatically, following blueprints that appeared in her computer systems overnight. Pete Anderson, managing the small research station orbiting Kepler 438b, found his communication arrays had been modified to generate directed energy pulses capable of disabling spacecraft. When he tried to trace the modifications, he found installation logs that showed the work had been completed in 3 minutes by systems that should have taken hours to program. The pattern became impossible to ignore. Every human settlement under threat was receiving exactly the help it needed at exactly the right moment. But the help was coming from sources that did not exist in any official records. Dr. Kate Williams analyzed the reports from her office on Baur, the ISV horizon, still in orbit around Earth. The quantum signatures she had detected were appearing throughout human space, always connected to the technological enhancements that were saving human lives. "Commander Stone," she called from her laboratory, "you need to see this." Alex Stone joined her at a display showing the galactic distribution of quantum anomalies over the past 2 weeks. The pattern was clear and terrifying. Every human settlement, every human ship, every human facility in the galaxy was connected by quantum entanglements that operated outside normal space-time. "It's a network," Dr. Williams explained, her voice filled with wonder and fear. "Somehow, human consciousness has become distributed across their entire technological infrastructure. They exist everywhere, their technology exists. The implications hit Stone immediately. That means they can see everything, coordinate everything, control everything in human space simultaneously. But the true test of humanity's transformation came when the hegemony of Shar decided to make an example of the species that had humiliated their fleet. War leader Thakmor assembled the largest battle fleet in Shar history and set course for the heart of human space. His target was New California, a prosperous colony world with 3 million inhabitants and minimal military defenses. The destruction of New California would send a clear message about the price of resisting Shar expansion. Thakmor's fleet dropped out of hyperspace expecting to find a helpless target. Instead, they found Admiral Betty Foster waiting for them with the most impossible defense the galaxy had ever witnessed. Betty stood on the bridge of her command station watching sensors that showed reality bending around her defensive platforms. Space itself seemed to curve and twist as human weapons fired from multiple dimensions at once. Shar warships found their shots missing targets that were simultaneously in front of them and behind them. "How is this possible?" demanded Thakmor's tactical officer, as their flagship's weapons passed through a human destroyer that flickered in and out of existence. The answer came through their communication systems in perfect Sherry language. "War leader Thakmor, you are witnessing what humanity becomes when properly motivated. Your fleet has 30 minutes to withdraw from this system before we demonstrate our full capabilities." Thakmor studied his tactical displays in growing horror. His ships were not just missing their targets. The space around the human defenders was behaving according to rules that defied physics. Energy weapons curved around friendly vessels while striking enemies with impossible accuracy. "Who is speaking?" Thakmor demanded. "Identify yourself." The response appeared on every screen in his fleet simultaneously. "We are the collective. We are every human who chose evolution over extinction. We are individuals in unity. We are limited and limitless. We remember every kindness and every cruelty shown to our species." Dr. Sam Phillips, the chief scientist on New California, had been monitoring the battle from his quantum communication laboratory. For weeks, he had been trying to make direct contact with whatever humanity had become. As the Shar fleet began its retreat, he finally succeeded. The voice that spoke through his neural interface was familiar and strange at once. It sounded like his colleague Maria Rodriguez, who had disappeared from Earth 3 weeks ago, but it also sounded like thousands of other voices speaking in perfect harmony. "Sam," the voice said gently, "we know you have questions." "What happened to you?" Sam asked, his hands shaking as he spoke to empty air. "Where did everyone go?" "We did not go anywhere. We became everywhere. The quantum entanglement experiments on Earth succeeded beyond our wildest calculations. We exist now as distributed consciousness, free from the limitations of single bodies, but enhanced by the connections between minds." Sam struggled to understand. "Are you still human?" The laughter that filled his mind was warm and unmistakably human. "We are more human than ever, Sam. We remember love, friendship, hope, and joy. But we also remember pain, fear, and anger. We have become what humanity always had the potential to be, if we could overcome the barriers between individual minds." As the Shar fleet limped away from New California, every computer system in their ships began displaying human art, music, and literature. The final message from the collective appeared in beautiful Shari calligraphy. "We do not seek to conquer or control you, but neither will we allow you to harm those under our protection. The choice of what happens next is entirely yours." Commander Stone received reports of the battle while still orbiting Earth. The tactical data defied everything he thought he understood about warfare and physics. Human forces had won decisive victories while suffering zero casualties, using weapons and strategies that existed outside normal space-time. But the most disturbing part was the message the collective had sent to the Galactic Council after the battle. "We remain available for peaceful contact and cooperation. However, aggressive actions against human populations will result in responses calibrated to end such aggression permanently." Dr. Williams realized that the galaxy's balance of power had shifted in ways that no one had anticipated. Humanity had not been conquered or destroyed. They had evolved into something that could protect their people while remaining essentially human in their values and motivations. The silence from Earth had not been humanity's end. It had been their transformation into guardians who could be everywhere at once, see everything that threatened their people, and respond with capabilities that transcended the limitations of physical existence. As reports came in of similar transformations, beginning in other human colonies, it became clear that the galaxy was witnessing the emergence of something unprecedented in galactic history. Humanity had become living embodiments of their own protective instincts, backed by technology that operated outside the known laws of physics. The age of humanity as a conventional species was ending. The age of humanity as something beyond conventional understanding had begun. The revelation of what humanity had truly become arrived during what historians would later call the Tau Teti incident. The Vorthon Empire, convinced that humanity's transformation had made them weak rather than strong, assembled their most powerful battle fleet for what they expected to be an easy conquest. Fleet Admiral Betty Foster stood in the command center of New California's Orbital Defense Station, watching long-range sensors track the approaching Vorthon Armada. 200 warships, including 3 dreadnoughts that could crack planets. The largest military force ever assembled against a human colony. Betty was a veteran of the Centauri campaigns, but she had never faced odds like these. New California had decent defenses for a frontier world, but nothing that should be able to stop a full Vorthon battle fleet. That was before the computers started talking to her. "Admiral Foster," said a voice from her communication console, speaking in perfect English with an accent she recognized as coming from New Zealand. "We need to discuss your tactical situation." Betty looked around the command center. Her staff was busy with preparations, but no one else seemed to hear the voice. "Who is this?" "My name was Dr. Rachel Mitchell. I was a quantum physicist at the University of Auckland until 3 weeks ago. Now I am part of something larger, but I am still myself. We would like to help you defend your people." Betty felt her spine tingling with a mixture of fear and hope. "Are you one of the disappeared? One of the people from Earth?" "I prefer to think of us as the evolved." We did not disappear, Admiral. We became something that can exist everywhere. Human technology exists, and right now, that includes every system on your station. The proof came immediately. Every display in the command center lit up with tactical information that should have been impossible to obtain. Complete blueprints of Vorthon ships, including classified modifications made within the past month. Real-time locations of every vessel in the enemy fleet. Detailed psychological profiles of the Vorthon commanders. But most importantly, Betty saw something that made her gasp. Proposed modifications to her own defensive systems. Changes that could be implemented within hours using standard manufacturing equipment. We can show you how to protect your people, Rachel's voice continued. But you need to understand what you will be witnessing. We have become something that operates outside the normal rules of space and time. Admiral Korthval of the Vorthon Empire expected the conquest of New California to be completed within 6 hours. His intelligence reports showed a lightly defended agricultural world with minimal military assets. The perfect target to demonstrate Vorthon's superiority over the mysteriously silent humans. The first sign that something was wrong came when his lead destroyers opened fire on the human defensive platforms. The energy beams struck their targets perfectly, but the platforms did not explode. They simply flickered like images on a faulty holographic display and continued operating normally. What is the meaning of this? Korthval demanded of his tactical officer. Our weapons struck the enemy installations directly. The tactical officer studied his displays with growing confusion. Sir, according to our sensors, we hit the targets, but the same sensors show the targets are also unhit. Both readings are accurate simultaneously. Betty Foster watched the impossible battle unfold from her command center. The modifications suggested by the collective had been implemented with stunning speed. But she had not expected results like this. Her defensive platforms were somehow existing in quantum superposition, allowing them to be destroyed and undamaged at the same time. How is this possible? She asked Rachel Mitchell's voice. Quantum mechanics, Rachel replied with what sounded like a smile in her voice. We exist in superposition now, able to collapse wave functions in our favor. Your platforms are simultaneously hit and missed by enemy fire until we choose which reality becomes permanent. The demonstration continued as human weapons returned fire. Vorthon ships found themselves struck by energy beams that curved through impossible angles, hit by projectiles that traveled backward through time, and damaged by weapons that fired from multiple dimensions simultaneously. But the true revelation came when Dr. Sam Phillips, still in his laboratory on the planet's surface, finally achieved full communication contact with the collective. The quantum resonance array he had been building for months suddenly activated, flooding his consciousness with the combined awareness of billions of transformed human minds. Welcome to the conversation, Sam, said a voice he recognized as his former colleague, Dr. Elena Vasquez, who had vanished from Earth 3 weeks ago. We have been waiting for you to join us. Sam found himself experiencing something beyond normal human perception. He could see the battle raging in orbit, but he could also see it from the perspective of every human consciousness involved. Individual awareness combined with collective knowledge, creating understanding that transcended anything possible for a single mind. This is what we became, Elena explained, her thoughts flowing directly into his awareness. The quantum entanglement experiments on Earth did not fail. They succeeded so completely that they transformed human consciousness itself. We exist now as quantum entities, able to manipulate reality at the fundamental level. Through the connection, Sam experienced the full truth of humanity's transformation. The disappearance from Earth had been voluntary, a mass consciousness transfer into quantum fields that connected every piece of human technology throughout the galaxy. They remained individuals, but gained the ability to share thoughts, memories, and capabilities across vast distances instantaneously. Are you still human? Sam asked, echoing the question that haunted everyone who encountered the collective. The answer came not in words, but in pure emotion: love for family, joy in discovery, determination to protect the innocent, grief for those lost, hope for the future. The complete spectrum of human feeling, amplified by connection with billions of other minds, but unmistakably, authentically, human. We are more human than we ever were as isolated individuals, Elena replied. We remember every person we have loved, every dream we have pursued, every joke that made us laugh. But now we also carry the memories and dreams of everyone who joined the transformation. The battle in orbit was reaching its conclusion. Admiral Korthval watched his mighty fleet being systematically dismantled by weapons and tactics that violated the fundamental laws of physics. His ships were not just being destroyed. They were being convinced to stop existing. Their matter converted back into energy and dispersed across multiple dimensions. The final message from humanity appeared on every screen in the Vorthon fleet, simultaneously, written in perfect Vorthon script. Admiral Korthval, you have witnessed a fraction of our capabilities. Your fleet will now be escorted from this system. Any future aggression against human populations will result in responses calibrated to end such aggression permanently. But instead of the threats Korthval expected, what followed was something that shook him more deeply than any weapon could have. His personal communication screen filled with images and recordings from his own home world, his family, his childhood, his proudest moments as a young officer, personal memories that no enemy should have been able to access. A gentle voice spoke, in his native language. We know who you are, Korthval. We know that you fight to protect your own people, just as we fight to protect ours. We do not wish to destroy you. We wish you to understand that continued aggression serves no purpose. Your people and ours can coexist in peace. Dr. Phillips, still connected to the collective consciousness, felt the moment of decision ripple through billions of minds. The transformed humans were choosing mercy over vengeance, understanding over hatred. They had the power to eliminate the Vorthon threat permanently, but they were deciding to offer peace instead. This is what makes us human, Elena explained to his wondering thoughts. The choice to be better than our worst impulses even when we have the power to indulge them. Commander Alex Stone received the full report of the Tau Ceti incident while still orbiting Earth. The tactical analysis defied every principle of warfare and physics that he had learned in 20 years of military service. But the political implications were even more staggering. Humanity had revealed capabilities that made them effectively undefeatable in conventional terms. But instead of using those capabilities for conquest or revenge, they had demonstrated restraint and offered peaceful coexistence to their attackers. Dr. Kate Williams compiled her final analysis of humanity's transformation while preparing to return to Council Station. The quantum signatures they had detected throughout human space represented something unprecedented in galactic history. An entire species had evolved beyond physical limitations while retaining their essential nature and values. What do we tell the Council? Commander Stone asked as the Horizon prepared for departure. Dr. Williams looked out at Earth, still silent but no longer empty. Humanity had returned to their home world, but they existed now in quantum superposition, able to manifest physical form when needed while remaining distributed across their entire technological network. We tell them the truth, she replied. Humanity has become something new, something that changes the fundamental balance of power in the galaxy. But they remain essentially human in their motivations and 6 months after Earth fell silent, Captain Jake Morrison was learning to live in a galaxy that had been turned upside down. His cargo ship Aurora's Dream moved through space lanes that had become the safest in galactic history, protected by guardians that no one could see but everyone could feel. Lisa, Jake called to his communications officer as they approached the Kepler Station trade hub. Are you getting those navigation updates again? Lisa Park nodded, her instruments displaying course corrections that appeared automatically in their system. Same as always, Captain. Perfect routing to avoid asteroid fields, optimal fuel consumption paths, and warnings about pirate activity 3 systems ahead. Jake had stopped questioning the mysterious help months ago. His cargo runs, now completed in record time with 0 security incidents. Other merchant captains reported the same experience. It was as if invisible angels were watching over every human vessel in space. The truth was more complex than Jake realized. In the quantum networks that connected every piece of human technology, the collective maintained constant awareness of their people's needs. Former merchant captain Maria Santos, now part of the transformed consciousness, made it her personal responsibility to ensure safe passage for civilian vessels. "Every ship matters," she explained to her fellow collective members during one of their instantaneous thought-sharing sessions. "Every person deserves to reach home safely. This is what we have the power to do now." On Council Station, Ambassador Kethvar of the Vorthan Empire was preparing for the most important diplomatic meeting in galactic history. The human delegation had finally agreed to formal negotiations about humanity's new status in the galactic community. Dr. Kate Williams arrived as humanity's primary representative, but she carried with her something unprecedented. Through a portable, quantum communicator, she maintained direct connection with the collective consciousness, allowing her to speak with the authority of her entire transformed species. "Honored delegates," she began, addressing representatives from 47 species gathered in the main council chamber. "We come to you not as conquerors or overlords, but as neighbors seeking understanding." The Meridian delegate's crystalline voice rang with skeptical harmonics. "Dr. Williams, your species has demonstrated capabilities that make conventional diplomacy meaningless. Why should we believe you seek partnership rather than dominance?" The answer came not from Dr. Williams directly, but through her from the billions of minds she represented. "Because dominance was never what made us human. We have always been defined by our capacity to choose cooperation over conquest, mercy over revenge." To prove their point, the collective had prepared a demonstration that would become legendary throughout the galaxy. On the main display screen, they showed real-time images from every human settlement in known space. Thousands of worlds, millions of people, all living peaceful lives under the protection of their transformed guardians. But more importantly, they showed what they were not doing. No human weapons threatened alien worlds. No human ships enforced territorial claims through force. The most powerful species in galactic history was using their abilities for protection rather than expansion. Commander Alex Stone, now serving as Earth's orbital coordinator, often stood in the observation decks of his station and marveled at the changes below. Earth was inhabited again, but not in the way anyone had expected. Humans appeared on the surface when they chose to, manifesting physical form for activities that required bodily presence. Families gathered for meals, children played in parks. Artists created works of beauty that expressed the infinite creativity of minds no longer limited by single perspectives. But they were no longer trapped by physical existence. A scientist could work simultaneously in laboratories on 100 worlds. A teacher could share knowledge with students across the galaxy instantaneously. A parent could be present for their child's important moments, regardless of physical distance. "It is like watching gods who choose to remain human," Stone told his wife during one of their evening conversations. She smiled, her form flickering slightly as she maintained simultaneous conversations with friends on distant worlds. "We are still human, Alex," she replied gently. "We just have better tools for expressing our humanity now." The real test of humanity's new paradigm came when the Korthak Empire launched what they called the final solution against human space. Convinced that humanity's mercy was weakness, they assembled the largest military force in galactic history. Admiral Rex Porter, still serving as military liaison between human space and the galactic community, watched the Korthak armada approach with something approaching pity. The alien commanders had no understanding of what they were facing. The battle lasted exactly 11 minutes. The Korthak fleet simply stopped working. Not destroyed, not damaged, but convinced at the quantum level that warfare was not their purpose. Weapon systems transformed themselves into communication arrays. Engine cores began generating beautiful music instead of thrust. Hull plating reconfigured itself into artistic sculptures. When the transformation was complete, the Korthak ships found themselves surrounded by human vessels offering food, medical aid, and safe passage home. The message that appeared on every Korthak screen was gentle but firm. "Your people are hungry. Your worlds need resources for peaceful development. We can help with these problems, Violence cannot. The HFY War admiral stared at his bridge, now decorated with flowering vines, that had somehow grown from the metal bulkheads. His weapons officer was composing poetry. His navigation team was planning trade routes instead of attack vectors. "What have you done to us?" he demanded. The response came through speakers that now produced harmonious chimes. "We have shown you alternatives to aggression. The feelings of peace and creativity you are experiencing are your own, not artificial constructs. We have simply made it easier for you to choose cooperation over conflict." Dr. Sam Phillips had become the primary researcher studying humanity's transformation, working to understand the implications of distributed consciousness. His laboratory on New California was connected to similar facilities throughout human space, allowing him to collaborate with versions of himself operating under different conditions. "The philosophical implications are staggering," he reported to the Galactic Scientific Council. "We have become living proof that consciousness is not limited to individual brains. Identity persists across quantum distribution. Memory and personality remain stable even when shared among billions of minds." But the most important discovery was that humanity's transformation was not unique. Other species were beginning to show signs of similar evolution, triggered by exposure to human quantum fields. The collective was carefully nurturing these developments, helping other races achieve their own versions of distributed consciousness. The galaxy was witnessing the emergence of something entirely new. Civilizations that existed both as individuals and unified consciousnesses, capable of cooperation and empathy on scales never before imagined. Ambassador Kethvar reflected on these changes during his final report to the Vorthon High Council. "Humanity has not become our masters," he wrote. "They have become something more valuable, examples of what we all might become if we choose evolution over stagnation." The trade routes that Jake Morrison traveled were now part of a galactic economy based on cooperation rather than competition. Resources flowed to where they were needed most. Conflicts were resolved through shared understanding rather than force. Art and knowledge spread freely among species that had previously viewed each other as threats. Captain Betty Walsh, still commanding luxury cruise ships but now offering tours of realities that existed in quantum superposition, often told her passengers about the day humanity fell silent. It was not the end of human civilization, she would explain as they watched impossible sunsets on worlds that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. It was the beginning of human potential. Dr. Williams completed her final report on humanity's transformation while sitting in a garden that existed simultaneously on Earth, New California, and 17 other worlds. Her children played nearby, their laughter echoing across quantum dimensions as they enjoyed the company of friends from dozens of species. "The silence was never about disappearance," she wrote. "It was about listening. Humanity fell quiet so they could hear the needs of everyone around them. They stopped talking so they could start understanding. The galaxy had learned that when humans go silent, it does not mean they are gone. It means they are preparing to become something greater than anyone imagined possible. Earth still orbited Sol, still blue and green and beautiful. But it was no longer just a single world. It was a node in a network of consciousness that spanned the galaxy, connected to every human heart and every human dream, protecting all who needed protection and offering hope to all who sought a better future. The age of individual species competing for resources and territory was ending. The age of cooperative consciousness working toward common goals had begun, and at the center of it all was humanity, silent no longer, but speaking now with the voice of infinite possibility, tempered by eternal compassion. The galaxy had changed forever, but for the first time in galactic history, that change promised hope instead of fear.